Hello guys, welcome to our Michael Herr / Shield of the Sun video titled The War in Heaven. In this particular video we're going to be discussing a particular fascinating topic that took place a very long time ago in a universe very, very far away. Not to borrow any puns there, but it is quite an interesting testimony, and we're going to be reviewing that in Revelation 12. And Revelation 12 is often one of the most mysterious, often one of the most misunderstood. A lot of people have used Revelation 12 to spread their own propaganda. A lot of people have used Revelation 12 to spread out some false teachings. But here I'm going to give you the brass tacks understanding as presented by the Apostle John. How the Apostle John had interpreted his basically his teachings regarding what he had put down for Revelation 12. So I'm going to explain it to you from the perspective that the Apostle John was presenting it, which I believe is the proper way to always teach Revelation. So we're going to go into verse 1. And there appeared a great wonder in heaven, a woman clothed with the sun and the moon under her feet, and upon her head a crown of 12 stars. And she, being with child, cried, travailing in birth, and pain to be delivered. So understand what is going on here is that John is seeing into the past. John is seeing a time when the angelic host were called into assembly. When they were called into assembly, they were to then see not only the future creation, what is called the universe, what are called the planets of the universe, but they were going to start to understand more about who God is. Not only were they going to understand more about who God is and what God was going to do in the future, they were even going to learn about a being named Satan. They were going to learn that there would be a great rebellion one day. Let's read further. As she, being with child, cried, travailing in birth and pain to be delivered. And there appeared another wonder in heaven. And behold, a great red dragon, having 7 heads, heads representing 7 principalities, or 7 chiefs, if you will, 7 primary leaders that was under this red dragon. 10 horns, which is to represent a host, which is to represent what are the legions that are under the jurisdiction of this red dragon. And 7 crowns upon his heads, representing his authorial position in heaven, that he had prime positions that was noted as principalities, making him a prince of a host, is what it's presenting. And his tail drew the 3rd part of the stars of heaven, and did cast them to the earth. And the dragon stood before the woman which was ready to be delivered, for to devour her child as soon as it was born. And she brought forth a male child, who was to rule all nations with a rod of iron. And her child was caught up unto God and to his throne. And the woman fled into the wilderness, where she hath a place prepared of God, that they should feed her there 1,260 days. Meaning these are not numbers that are calculated on earth. These numbers are mysterious, and they actually relate to the time frame that took place regarding the war in heaven. That for the war in heaven, this period that's calculated as days, which could have been maybe millions, thousands of years to us, however that time frame went in heaven, what we know that there was going to be an allotment of time for the angelic host to decide which side they would take. You see what happened with this whole wonder, because that's what it's presented as first. It's presented as a wonder. The angels are literally watching, I guess you can call a heavenly screen. They're seeing a living vision. They're seeing a vision of what's to come. That all the harmony, all the peace, when all the angelic hosts were in sync with each other, that this harmony would be disrupted. That this peace among them and this worship of God was about to also be disrupted. And the reason why it was going to be disrupted was because the angels were going to learn more. That God had begotten himself, and that God had begotten a son, and that this begotten son is God. and that he would come in through the pangs, meaning through the sins of the human race, come to die for them, come to realize that they have been misled, and that this sin, this original sin that misled mankind, it would start with the angelic order, that there would be a traitor among them. This traitor held a high-ranking position. The traitor, instead of being called a dazzling cherub, was called a great red dragon. And this great red dragon would use his principality authority. He would use his crownly influence. He would use his leadership position to actually mock, stand against the will of God. And as I'm going to do another video on that, we come to understand that Satan's hang-up was that he wanted to be begotten. He wanted to be God. But he wasn't God to just make himself at any given point in time or to do whatever he wanted. But this is what Satan wanted, which that would be for another video. So Satan basically doesn't agree with God's plan for humanity. He doesn't agree with this whole concept of one being begotten. He doesn't agree with the way God chooses to exist, the way God chooses to favor humanity, even save them from their sins. He figures this is all a whitewash, if you will. This is all just, taking away of my rights, if you will. This was Satan being selfish. This was Satan being sick in the mind. His vanity, and then his envy for what another person is, who is God, that's who Satan envied, God himself, brought Satan to a conclusion to inspire and mislead the angels that were under him, who he was supposed to be leading for the will of God and under the commandments of God, rejected those commandments, rejected the authority that was over him, and then he started to initialize lies among these angels, and then got these angels who also felt similar to him to walk away from God. And this was the result. And there was war in heaven. Michael and his angels fought against the dragon, and the dragon fought and his angels, and prevailed not. Neither was their place found any more in heaven. And the great dragon was cast out, that old serpent called the devil and Satan, which deceiveth the whole world. He was cast out into the earth, and his angels were cast out with him. Now, devil means actually accuser. It means a liar. Not just any kind of liar, like a celebrity liar, an actor, an actress, that type of liar. A liar who brings inspiration. A liar who brings artistic forms. A liar that appears in many shapes, variety of speech, but all for the purpose of accusation, blasphemy, and false doctrine. A devil, an accuser, a confuser, one who confounds you. Then he's called Satan, meaning opposition, opposed to the truth, opposed to the church, opposed to the begotten, the Most High, the Messiah, opposed to the will of God, opposed to the government of God, opposed to everything that is of God. This is why it's capitalized, devil and Satan, because this is who he is. This is what his whole legion became. Devil and Satan is capitalized to signify that one who led all these angels astray, and thus that entire host of the demonic is collectively known as Satan, the oppositional host, also known as the rebellion, the rebel angels, the fallen angels. So what happens with them is that there was a war fought. So then at this point, God appoints a new leader, because originally, as we will learn later, Satan was the original leader at first, meaning Satan originally, when he was Lucifer, which was his title, the light bearer, he was appointed by God to lead his angels. But as you know, he throws away that authority. He throws away his crowns, his horns, his positions, and then he just leads the angels that would follow him astray, so a new leader was appointed. That angel's name was Michael. Michael is a name to say who is like God. This isn't to say I'm like God. It's to say there's no one like God. Michael is presenting the fact For all the power the angels have, not one of you are God. Not one of you have the right to challenge his authority. Not one of you have the right to question God's love for humanity, the way God chooses to do things. If he is begotten, we bow down. He is God. We don't question these things. We are to glorify and reflect our Lord and his will, and to master this particular understanding that he has given us and inspire the will of God. And this is what Michael was all about. That no angel, no life form at any point should ever think that they even come close to being God. That no one is like God. And this is actually the reference of what his name means. It's like a reminder to say, you're not perfect. You're not this, you're not that. Okay, there's only one God and you're you. And we shall learn from our Creator and definitely obey our Creator. Then you hear there was war in heaven. And as you know, this war would take place as this allotted time would happen. That creation would be held in a standstill. And as creation is held in this standstill, this decision, this war was engaged. So then Michael leads the good angels against the fallen angels. The fallen angels get the worst of it. And we're going to hear a little bit more about the reflection of this war. And I heard a loud voice saying in heaven, now has come salvation and strength in the kingdom of our God and the power of his Christ. For the accuser of our brethren is cast down, which accused them before our God day and night. And that's confirming what I just said. Listen to what this war was about. Now has come salvation and strength, and the kingdom of our God and the power of his Christ. So therefore, creation was held back for a while. Just the signs of creation was given. So now, this holding back will no longer be. Now this is when God comes in and says, let there be light, things of this sort. Creation will start to happen. And what was the devil's problem? For the accuser of our brethren is cast down, but you notice the kingdom of our God and the power of his Christ. So this war really was about the begotten. It really was about the fact that Jesus was the Son of God, that he was created, yes, but not like everyone else is. He became the begotten, something else. He is a manifestation of God himself. And this is what Satan had a problem with. So this is what it was all about. It was about the begotten being God, creating the human race, creating even the angels, formulating these things, and Satan had a heavy problem with this. But either way, his problem didn't matter. He got defeated, he lost, he was totally rejected, casted out, and now everything that God stated within the wonder now is going to start coming to pass. And then we read these other interesting things as well. And they overcame him by the blood of the Lamb, and by the word of their testimony, and they loved not their lives unto the death. So a lot of people get this confused. Can angels die? The type of death that Michael is speaking about is in reference to pain. You see, pain is the formulation of death. When you have pain, this is to signify what is known as the pangs of death. So to understand it in heaven, on earth, we understand death to be that your body receives such an extraordinary amount of damage, leading to a lot of pain, which could lead to the destruction of your shell, your body. But then you know your soul comes out from your body. So this is what we exist, and this is how we defy death. Now in heaven, among the angelic order, death would be seen differently. Death would be the extraordinary amount of pain. So what Michael is presenting actually is that when the angels went to war, it was physically painful. Meaning they were injured, meaning they went at it, meaning it was horrible. It had stress, it tried them. It was absolutely destructive upon each other. And this pain, this intensity, this anxiety, this whole thing they went through. When you've been a soldier who fought in war, and you manage to, and you not to have your body destroyed, but you do experience the pain. You experience it within other soldiers. When soldiers have been shot to pieces, when they've lost legs, lost ligaments, when you've seen them down in the field. Okay, this is what Michael is describing. That the pain and the intensity that one feels in heaven is far worse than what you would feel on earth. Considering, let's say if my finger breaks, right? My pain sensories would only feel it within my one finger. But if I'm a soul and I experience pain anywhere in my body, I'm going to feel it throughout my whole entire body, my whole entire spiritual existence. It was a horrible, horrible war, is what Michael is describing. But the good angels, the one who stood their ground, were willing to fight it. Not only were they willing, they did fight it. They did go through it. And they were not selfish, is what Michael is describing. That when it came to serving God, contending for God, and dealing with the war, they chose to be selfless and serve God. Therefore rejoice, ye heavens, and ye that dwell in them. Woe to the inhabitants of the earth and of the sea, for the devil is come down unto you, having great wrath, because he knoweth that he hath but a short time. Now, why does Michael reference the earth and of the sea as these places where the devil is cast down? Because beneath the earth, underneath the oceans, and when we reflect on the sea, they have strong connections actually to dimensional spheres or dimensional worlds. These are the points of entrances to these unseen worlds that connect throughout the universe. So the planets have these entranceways that would be considered within the hollow points of the earth, underneath our oceans, beneath the sea. So when the devil and his angels were casted out, they were casted into these spiritual waters. And these waters disintegrated them, and then these spheres trapped them in. So all these angels got trapped into these different dimensional spheres, and as we know, they're used for various and different things. Some are held captive, some are tempting spirits. Many of them are being allowed to fluctuate in and out for specific signs and wonders that pertain to prophecy. But this is where they're trapped. This is where their dimension lies. It lies within the pit, within the void, within the darkness of these areas. And when the dragon saw that he was cast onto the earth, he persecuted the woman which brought forth the male child. And keep in mind, this is referencing or metaphors to state the human race, the earth, and the life that exists here. And remember that Jesus was born through a woman. So this is really Satan warring against the order and nature that God had brought forward, including his church, his Messiah, his people, and the Word of God. And to the woman were given 2 wings of a great eagle, that she might fly into the wilderness, into her place, where she is nourished for a time and times and half a time from the face of the serpent. So it's referencing points of the earth. One time there was a flood which destroyed that world, and then another world came. It's also referencing points of time. The time would be initialized one way. Then time would be shortened because the human race would de-age. They would de-evolution, if you will. They would degenerate, as well as time would degenerate as well. So things would shorten to the point. And the serpent cast out of his mouth water as a flood after the woman, that he might cause her to be carried away of the flood. And the earth helped the woman, and the earth opened her mouth and swallowed up the flood, which the dragon cast out of his mouth, which is referencing the flood of the Bible. That there was once this great advanced society, and that this flood came because of the auspiciousness of Satan, who deceived the world at that time. And the Bible's giving understanding that the world you're in today is actually the world of yesterday, which is the references that he's also giving.